Persona 5 Royal is the astonishing, true version of one of the finest role-playing games ever made and my personal favorite game of all time, featuring dungeon-style, turn-based combat in an interactive manga wrapped in a highly stylized and action-adventure story that takes place in Tokyo, Japan. It being made by the Japanese is merely a predisposed label used to diminish its quality and purpose and to alienate the genre from the Western audience. An audience which in and of itself is highly influential on the genre and the Japanese game industry altogether. Likewise, Japanese culture is felt ubiquitously here at home and abroad, so ignoring the designation JRPG or even just plainly RPG, Persona 5 is simply put one of the greatest PlayStation 4 games ever made, and honestly, one of the greatest games ever made in general. Now, in Persona 5, you command a band of Japanese teenagers that are basically superheroes, who in turn each control their own personas, which are Pokemon-style monsters born from their inner psyche that aid them in combat. Each one is personalized to their own inner desires and machinations. You play as Joker, a misunderstood teen that society confuses for a troublemaker and wrongfully brandishes as a criminal. He also happens to be one of the most well-dressed protagonists you'll ever see in a video game. He's also completely silent, and at times you wonder how such a quiet character can still be so cool. Maybe that's because as the leader of the syndicate of Phantom Thieves, his actions speak louder than words. The Phantom Thieves are a vigilante group of sorts that rebel against corrupt adults and corrupt society as a whole that all suffer from distorted cognitions. Now, their goal is to set the villain straight and avenge the fallen, to set an example and prove their own individual worth. For Joker, as with all great protagonists, the game asks you to fill his shoes. You also fill the shoes of a great ensemble of characters, each with a very colorful personality and each specializing in their own skills and persona, who are all united under a common goal brought about under uncommon circumstances. The characters' destinies are all slated to be intertwined, and you come to really identify with each player as one of your gang. Later on, they felt like my family, to be honest. Each member operates under an assumed identity using the code name that reflects an aspect of their self-image, and interestingly, when transforming, rather than taking off the mask that shields their facade, they put on one as a symbol of their inner desires and machinations. Sometimes they literally will rip off part of their face in order to birth their new one, like, damn bro! Damn! While cool, that shit looks painful as fuck. Now, each character's persona is distinct, and while some abilities are universally shared and can be learned, each new persona feels tailor-made, showcasing some of the finest turn-based combat ever done. Every fighter in Persona 5 feels unique and requires real strategy and thinking in the approach of how to expose the enemy's weaknesses and taking full advantage of your party's turn. The sheer number of coordinations and combinations possible through party member management allows for some very good nuance, and every single fight has enough variety for several playthroughs. I've personally platinumed both Vanilla P5 and Royal, and I already want to go back and replay through the damn game again. It's that good, guys. No joke. Combat is all about creating synergy with your party, and every battle permutation is strategic. There is no wrong choice or best choice, only whatever choice is best for you. Personas can be captured or created, strengthened, and sacrificed. They can also be fused with some of the higher level demons requiring 3 or more personas to fuse them. Think of Persona meets Yu-Gi-Oh, but way better. You can also timestamp and register any persona you capture or acquire to be traded in or brought back or bought back at a later time. You can truly catch them all. You can also share traits and carry over certain abilities and skills from older personas to awaken newer and stronger ones. It's addicting as hell, and I lost track of the number of hours I spent trying to fuse and collect all the personas. It's highly addicting. Many of their designs are extremely thoughtful as well. Now, overall, this game features some of the most creative monsters and enemy designs out of any game I've ever seen. Like, literally not even kidding, or exaggerating. Now, apart from some minor annoyances, the characters really do feel like your friends, family, and your partners in crime. Their character and costume designs are all sleek and super sexy, especially the many female characters, which are honestly kind of traditional and typical of Japanese anime, and there's no complaints here. Now, close bonds can be forged with nearly all introductory characters, and you can even romance nearly every single female character in the game, even having multiple girlfriends at a time. Sign me the fuck up! Now, Ann and Futaba are definitely the #1 waifus, don't at me. You can also bang your teacher. What? That could definitely be worth the $60 right there. Now, as far as the role-playing mechanics are concerned, you can interact with the world in so many different ways, from completing menial tasks like reading books, to studying for exams, to getting part-time jobs so you can make more money, to playing baseball at the batting cages, or even doing inappropriate things with your aforementioned teacher. There's always so much to do in this game that you'll never be bored, and the act of exploring Tokyo in-game is a joy to behold. I've always loved Tokyo, and just the setting itself, I mean, I'm a little biased to it, but like, come on, who the fuck doesn't love Tokyo? Now, you'll always be wondering and anticipating what's going to come next. Everything you do directly correlates to making you or your allies more powerful for future combat, or strengthening your bonds with your allies for the same. Each confidant in this game offers unique traits that aid you in combat, as the personas are categorized and designated to confidants. Ranking them up grants you more abilities to use in battle, or allows you to read books in class, for example, and other time-saving abilities that can be used outside of battle as well. It also increases the XP you get from making and or fusing each type of persona. It's also required to even be able to make or fuse certain high-level personas, and so much more, making the task of socializing with these NPCs actually rewarding. Now, aside from giving major praise to this game, which is a near masterpiece, I can't overlook the nagging drawbacks, and giving a fair review for Persona 5 proves to be a difficult critique because the game can be divided into two major elements of play: what it does well and what nearly breaks it. What Persona does well is obviously excels in extraordinary ways, such as the production values, which are truly phenomenal. The animation is first class and up there with the best animes. The voice acting is also outstanding and is punctuated by a real emotional understanding of the cultural meta and a certain self-referential awareness. The game is honestly just a great form of storytelling and action. Each character's story is super involving, heartfelt, and serves the overall arc and theme of the game. Really good. Now, where the game does take some minor missteps is very early on, and often with an initial gameplay loop that can at first be literally described as a press X simulator, with unruly mechanics that makes playing feel like a chore at times, especially in the beginning, guys. Now, this isn't nitpicking either. It creates a serious problem with the pacing sometimes. For example, in the beginning, your daily activities make you feel crunched for time, but the gameplay loop only becomes more tedious as you progress and run out of objectives to complete, stats to rank up, and confidants to hang out with. You go from having to stay organized and having to micromanage your time each day to being in complete disarray and losing your diligence while having way too much time on your hands with nothing left to do outside of the metaverse. And that's when the game really does become a press X simulator. If the game simply revolved around invading palaces and focused on the incredibly refined combat mechanics, for which there are extended sequences of in late game, it would be near perfection, but it doesn't. Instead, the game wastes valuable time by having the real action occur only intermittently, and this is especially bad for New Game Plus. Thankfully, the story and characters are so well written and addicting that this doesn't become a major issue, at least to me personally. Your mileage may vary. But with the dialogue and story, there are plenty of moments and scenes that will make you laugh, cry, or simply drop your jaw. The story of Persona 5 is fucking epic. It's a story about personal evolution and growth, and not merely good versus evil, but selfless self-actualization of the characters. Yes, there are convoluted moments to be sure, interspersed with a replication of self-satire, but if there are any dull moments in Persona 5, the game is never too far away from further excellence. Now, in Royal, the expanded version of Vanilla P5, some of the new features are the inclusion of unique showtime attacks. These are some of the most fashionable and cinematic combat mechanics I have ever seen in a video game, and they fit seamlessly into the concept of teamwork that drives the highly expressive combat of Persona 5. These special attacks can be triggered at random between two members of your group, so long as one of them is present in your party, and it can really help save you if you're in a bind. This, along with the inclusion of Kasumi and Akechi as playable characters, are easily the best part of this game's remodeling and worthy of your purchase. I also love the new grappling hook mechanic and the reworking of some of the dungeons. I also must point out how awesome the DLC semester is. It adds an entirely new palace and about 10 to 20 hours of new story, with plenty of great surprises in store, while also tying up a few loose ends. It's definitely worthy of your time, guys. So, obviously, this game isn't perfect. It does have some minor issues, but you know what? Fuck all that shit. I still love it. Now, if style is substance in Persona 5, then Persona 5 is easily one of the most wholesome games of them all. The greatest is the sublime soundtrack. It feels like one of the most engrossing original soundtracks ever produced. The music is motivational fuel, as well as a contemplated reflection of the culture. Every music track feels like a perfect choice for every scenario. Getting out of class makes you feel like you're busting. Coming home at night makes you feel super relaxed and ready to unwind for the day. Gearing up to take down the boss, or the final boss, feels like everything that you have worked towards accumulated into one final moment. My point is that the music in this game is amazing, easily on par with some of the greatest like Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts. Now, although Persona has always had great music, in my honest opinion, this game, it stands out even more than even Persona 2 and 4, which had some of the greatest soundtracks I've ever heard. Persona 5, like the name implies, is about identity. Every aspect of this game is personalized. The combat, the soundtrack, the narrative, even the menus, just everything in this game. It all feels very cohesive and it all fits together nearly perfect. When the end credits rolled, I had tears in my eyes. I did not want this game to end. You get so attached to these characters, especially after 100+ hours, that they truly become near and dear to your heart. This game has one of, if not the greatest artistic output in the medium's history, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. Persona 5 is so good that any misgivings I did have definitely disappeared over the course of my 100-hour playthrough. Persona 5 might just be the game to give you a change of heart. No pun intended. As always, guys, if you guys enjoyed my video and you want to see more, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe. It really does help my channel grow. And I'll catch you guys next time on my next video. This is DarkHaven signing out. Have a good one.